Here's something that might surprise you. For most emotionally mature men, hearing "I love you" isn't actually the most powerful thing you can say. I know, it sounds totally backward, right? But stick with me, because in this explainer, we're gonna dive into what truly sparks that deep, lasting devotion.
So, why isn't it always enough? Well, think about it. I love you is incredible, but in a long-term relationship, it can become routine, you know? It's kind of like your favorite song. You still love it, but when you hear it for the thousandth time, it just becomes background music. It doesn't always have that same emotional punch.
So if "I love you" can fade into the background, what actually cuts through all the noise? It's something way, way rarer. It's your authentic, grounded presence. Today, we're gonna break down the tiny shifts you can make that create a connection so powerful, it makes him feel like he can finally take off all the armor he wears for the rest of the world and just be himself. Okay, first up, let's talk about what some sources call the gesture that melts a man. And no, this isn't some kind of physical trick or a clever line you need to memorize. It's all about the energy you bring into the room, a powerful mix of focus, calm, and presence that speaks directly to his nervous system. It really comes down to these three things. First, just a calm, intentional energy. You're not frantic, you're not rushed. Second, warm eye contact that just says, "Hey, I see you, I'm right here with you." And number three, this one is the game changer, relaxed silence. See, most people panic when there's a quiet moment. They rush to fill the air with chatter. But when you can just sit in that silence comfortably, you're sending a powerful signal of emotional control and self-confidence. And here's the cool part. There's real biology behind this. When you bring that calm presence, it actually activates his parasympathetic nervous system. That's just the fancy term for the rest and relax part of the brain. You are literally creating a safe space for him to exhale. And for a man who is constantly on and competing out in the world, that feeling is incredibly magnetic. All of this triggers a really powerful thought process, but it's totally subconscious. He's not thinking it through step by step. He just feels it. The little voice in the back of his head is saying, "This woman, she feels safe. She feels real. I think I can actually let my guard down with her." And that right there is everything. Okay, so from that place of presence, let's talk about the actual words you use. You have to remember, a mature, high-value man isn't looking for a fangirl. He's looking for a partner, someone who truly sees him. And using the right phrases can hit him right at his core, making him feel deeply respected and understood. This simple phrase, wow, it is so incredibly powerful. It's more than a compliment. You're telling him you believe in his character, his judgment, his ability. One expert described it as being like pouring gasoline on his confidence. You're making him feel like a rock. And what this does is it taps directly into what psychologists call the hero instinct. It's this deep-wired intrinsic desire every man has to feel needed, to protect, and to provide for the people he cares about. When you say, "I trust you," you're not just being nice, you're signaling that you see him as a hero, which makes him want to live up to that for you. Now, here's another phrase that is like medicine for the male mind. So many guys shut down when they feel pressured, right? Whether it's making a big decision or trying to talk about their feelings, these three little words completely diffuse that pressure. Saying "take your time" is like giving him emotional oxygen. You're taking all the pressure off. You're telling him, "I'm a safe harbor, not another source of stress in your life." And that feeling of safety and acceptance, that's what makes him want to open up, to commit, and to stay. And of course, there are a few others that work like a charm. "I'm listening" invites him to be vulnerable. "You're right" validates his perspective, which is huge for men. A sincere "I'm sorry" shows incredible maturity. And "I know you've got this" just doubles down on that core feeling of trust we were talking about. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the signals you send without saying a single word. Attraction is so much more than just looking perfect. It's about the silent language your style communicates, often on a totally subconscious level. For example, did you know that certain hairstyles can actually trigger a deep attraction response? Things like a simple ponytail or a messy bun that exposes the neck, or even just soft, flowing curls. These looks send a message that you're approachable, you're confident, and you're comfortable in your own skin, which men find so appealing. Even the colors you wear are talking. Yeah, red is famous for shouting passion and energy, and it absolutely gets you noticed. But a color like blue sends a totally different but just as powerful message. Blue quietly communicates calm, trust, and stability. It makes you feel like a safe bet. But here's the real secret when it comes to style. It's not about the trends or the specific clothes. It's about the feeling. It's about choosing things that make you feel powerful and confident. Because that authentic energy you radiate, that's the thing that really pulls people in. So you're leading with this authentic energy. You're creating this deep connection. But how can you tell if it's really working? Let's talk about the signs you'll start to see from him. And fair warning, they're often so quiet and subtle that they're really easy to miss if you're not looking. So here's what you want to watch for. These are the little shifts. He won't make a big deal about them. He'll just do them. He'll become quietly protective. His body language will literally soften when you're around. And he might even get a little nervous, not because he's insecure, but because he's suddenly afraid of losing something he really values. But, the biggest shift of all happens in his head, and you'll hear it in his words. When a man is really falling for you, his plans start to naturally shift from I and me to us and we. He'll just drop it into conversation without even realizing it. He's mentally building a future with you, standing right there beside him. And honestly, this might be the most beautiful sign there is. He starts wanting to be better. He starts leveling up in his own life, his career, his habits, everything. Not because you nagged him to, but because he looks at you and is genuinely inspired. He thinks, she deserves the absolute best version of me. So as we wrap this up, what's the big takeaway here? What is the real art of building this kind of deep, unshakable connection? It's really this. Deep love isn't about performing. It's not about playing games or putting on a show. It's about being present. It's about offering someone a sense of calm and peace in a chaotic world. It's about paying attention to the little things that make them who they are. Because when a man feels that you are authentic, that you are a safe space for him, that you know the real deal, he understands just how rare and valuable that is. And he will move mountains, not just to be with you, but to keep you close. So I want to leave you with a question to think about. In today's world where we're all kind of encouraged to perform, do you find it easy to just be present with someone? Or do you feel that constant pressure to keep the show going? Let me know what you think.